Okay, so there's a second way in which we can graph lines whenever we're given the y-intercept. So in this particular case, we call it slope and y-intercept form. So we have a graph and it's y equals x plus 1. If you notice, because it has that plus 1, it's not going to create a proportional relationship, which is totally fine. We can still graph this. Now, before we were able to graph by using a table of values, we can most certainly do that for here, but I want to show you how you can graph it just by looking at the equation. So when I look at x, in front of x, our coefficient is usually slope. Well, it doesn't tell us necessarily what slope is, but anytime there's a number in front of our x, it's understood to be 1. So our slope, in a sense, would be 1 over 1. Okay, so since there's no slope represented by m here, it's understood to be 1, and 1 over 1 is the same as 1. Now it says what is the y-intercept? Now our y-intercept is represented, remember, by that b. So that b is actually this positive 1, this plus 1. So our y-intercept is 1. Now what that y-intercept tells us is that on our y-axis, we're going to be starting at positive 1 instead of the origin. So if I'm starting here at positive 1, again on the y-axis, then for my slope, all I have to do is my rise over run. So because this is a positive 1, I'm going to be rising 1. And because this is a positive 1, I'm going to be going to the right 1. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1, put a point right there. Up 1 over 1, put a point right there. Up 1 over 1, put a point right there. Now you might be, whoops, there we go, and you can graph it. Now you might be saying, well, what about when the line goes down here? That would be like saying going down 1 to the left 1, because two negatives make a positive. So all I did here was I saw that there was no number in front of x, so it's understood to be 1, and that's represented as our slope. In this case, it would be 1 over 1. And then our y-intercept is found at the end where it has either plus 1 or minus 7 or whatever it may be. Whatever is being added or subtracted, that is your y-intercept, and that's where you start on the y-axis instead of the origin.